Hello everyone, welcome to It's a Nerdy Thing. For today's session, we have with us Sunil Mishra, the author of Who Stole My Job. Hello Sunil.
Yeah, hi Ayushi.
Welcome to this session.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm perfectly fine. With your permission, I would first like to introduce you to our audience.
My pleasure. Please go ahead.
Sunil is an MBA from IIM Lucknow and holds a BTech from IIT Dhanbad. He is a software professional with over 2 decades of experience in the field of banking technology. Currently, he is working with Infosys in India in the area of digital technologies and startup ecosystem. He has earlier worked with McKinsey, Accenture, and iFlex Solutions. He has published 3 books, which includes a travel memoir of 30 countries called Transit Lounge, and 2 novels named Who Stole My Job and Who Stole My Time. So, shall we start with today's session?
Sure. Thanks, Ayushi.
Welcome. My first question to you is, how have you managed to do all this from becoming a software professional to a writer?
Yeah, so it was not a planned event. In fact, I used to write blogs and I used to publish a lot of articles on LinkedIn and things like that. And I had this good fortune of traveling to so many places. All was part of work. And then I slowly started blogging about my experience of visiting these places. Some of these countries were quite unique, so people were interested. So at some point in time, I thought I'll compile all of them and probably I'll try to create a book. So that's how my first book got created. And then after that, second book is Who Stole My Job, the one that you have right now. This is again based on my experience in the corporate world. So again, it was a natural progression of my writing. So actually, it was not planned. I'll say it happened, and it's more of a hobby for me, and I enjoy writing.
So it means it just came from inside that you want to write a book and you just started writing.
Yes, you can say that. Yeah.
Okay. So your first book was a non-fiction and then you wrote a fiction. So how did that happen?
Yeah, so as I said, my first book was primarily my travel experience. So it was more of a factual experience, and also it has to be non-fiction. But I wanted to write a fiction book because fiction is where you can actually exercise your creativity, right? So there are no rules. You can build your own character. You can have your own plot. So virtually you have an entire playground to exercise your creativity, right? So I wanted to, and I believe that fiction has a strong power, right? So people remember stories. And the message is actually easily percolated if you tell in the form of story. If you tell people that you should tell truth, yeah, people will hear it. But if you tell it in the form of a story and all that, people will remember the essence. So that's why story has been the most powerful mode of communication all throughout the history.
Yes, we remember stories more than facts.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you prefer more, writing fiction or writing non-fiction?
So actually my inclination is non-fiction. So even if you read my current book that you have, though it's a fiction, but there's a lot of concepts and a lot of theories, a lot of things have been put in there. Similarly, in my other recent book, Who Stole My Time, it is about social media. There are also a lot of concept on how the brain works, the psychology. So there are a lot of non-fiction stuff is there actually, right? So some people say that actually it's a non-fiction disguised as fiction, right? So yeah, but the reason I wanted to put in fiction is because, as I said, it has a better retention. People remember it, and it's not. Otherwise, it will become like a textbook, right? So, what I write more, what I like more, of course, I like non-fiction, but then I want to tell this in the form of story so that people get it.
That's a very good point, because you are feeding the audience what they want.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so can you introduce this book to our audience?
Yeah, so Who Stole My Job is about the change management, right? So essentially, it's about how do you manage yourself in the fast changing corporate world today. So the setup is of an IT company that is undergoing some disruption. So new technology is coming in. So of course, old skill are not no longer working, right? So it is a journey of a person or several persons in the book who try to rediscover themselves in a new world. So essentially, it is from moving from the old technology to new technology. So there is a lot of mention about artificial intelligence, blockchain, those kind of things, right? And essentially also from a mindset of working in a large organization to having your own setup. So the book also has a substantive element of startups and how they're coming up, and that's what going to be the future, right? So there are going to be a lot more smaller companies than lot many bigger companies. Big employers of the world actually are going to change in favor of smaller employers. So these were the themes in which I wanted to write this book.
Yes, you have substantially compared a multinational company and a startup.
Yeah, essentially, so this is a trend. I work a lot with startups, and so I'm also mentor for some of the startups, and then I see that a lot of action is happening in that space, and that is area which is growing faster, and new technology is being adopted more openly there. So it's not the corporate world, big corporates have disappeared, but a lot more people are willing to work in smaller setups.
For people like me, it was a very good guide to how multinational companies and startups work. Like, I found it very intriguing and interesting.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, I have worked in different setups. So I have worked in large multinational companies. I haven't worked in very small company, but as I said, I work very closely with the startups. So small,
Yes.
new age fintech kind of companies. So I have some idea about how they work and their struggle, their challenges. So some of those elements I have tried to put in the book.
So, what exactly inspired you to write this book?
Yeah, so I think one of the reason that I wrote this book is because it's very relevant today, right? If you see, there was a time when technology was the mass employer. I mean, all these companies used to go and hire in thousands from the campuses. Okay,
Yeah,
that time has changed, right? So that was a typical services kind of setup, right? So that time has changed. Though IT is still one of the biggest employer, but then it is no longer the big, at least for the future, they are not going to be volume based. They're not going to hire too many people. So it will be very few people who will be doing too many things. So it's going to be a skill game in the future.
Quality.
Yeah, quality, depth of knowledge, skill of knowledge. And this skill is not going to be like 10 years back. If you learn a language, it will stay with you for the next 10 years. Today, if you learn something, you have to relearn again in next 1 year or a half,
Yes.
whatever, 2 years, something like that. So the lesson or the message of the book is learnability, like how you keep changing yourself, how you keep learning new things to keep yourself updated with the technology. Otherwise, you will become irrelevant.
Yes. So, which category of people would you recommend this book to?
Yeah, so I guess anybody who's working in the corporate world will relate to the themes in the book because there are some generic themes. And somebody who has worked in an IT company, he or she will very closely relate with this whole setup, right? So, and some of those people who have read the book, they could say that they could relate to each and every experience, whether it's appraisal process or whether it is hiring, firing, all those things, and even the struggle of a new CEO and all those kind of things, right? So people who have been in IT, in any capacity, they will find this very close. Otherwise, people who have worked in larger companies also may relate to this.
I would say that people who want to know how does a multinational company or how does our IT firms work actually should definitely read this book, because maybe not everyone want to read a non-fiction book about an IT company, but a story will be always, it's better to read a story and learn things from that, like pick up points from
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And as I said, you always retain the message from a story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well said. So the characters are very well established and all of them have a point of view. So can you tell us something on the characters, like on the 4 characters that you have written?
Yeah. So I think I have tried to show the same scenario from 4 different perspectives. The first perspective is of a person called Satvik, who is the kind of protagonist. Yes. He has been a long timer. He has seen good days of the company. And a lot of IT companies actually in India are going through that, right? Like 10 years back, they used to be in the heydays and probably. So this Satvik is representing that, a long timer who has seen good days, but he's bewildered with the changes that is happening in the organization and how, and this is not only the organization, it's also the environment is changing, new technologies are coming. So the story captures the struggle of this person to cope with this change. The second main character is Vikas, who is again his manager, Satvik's manager, and this guy's journey is slightly different, though he has been a long timer, but he gets fired from the organization. But then he discovers that actually it turns out to be a good fortune for him, because he sets up a new organization and he starts doing well, and then he learns new things. So he actually discovers that it's kind of blessing in disguise. So that is a kind of different journey. The third person I can say is, of course, the CEO of the organization, because he has been given the mandate to turn around the organization, and so he tries to do many things. There's some cultural clash also, because he's an American and he's trying to transform an Indian company. So there are a lot of back and forth thing going on. So and actually I have not tried to portray that anybody's perspective is right or wrong. It's just that they're different. So the CEO has certain goal, and then he is trying to do to the best of his abilities, and what are the kind of challenges that he's facing in that. And then there are other characters. One more character that I can remember is Ajesh, who is friend of Satvik. Yeah, and this guy actually is trying to ride this change by changing companies and shipping over from one place to another place.
Like the only perfect character, he's always updating himself.
Yeah, he's updating himself. He's not too bogged down by culture and values and all those things. So these are 4 different perspectives.
What I liked about this book was in the beginning, how Marshall is portrayed, and at the end we get to know his perspective, that people expect him to just use a magic wand and turn over the company actually. So that's very well done.
Yeah, so actually it's a struggle of the CEO also, right? So I mean, sometimes people see these people as the evil, right? Because he has all the power, and then he's doing all the destruction, he's doing all the problem and all that. But then, I mean, whosoever he is, he's trying to do his best. He's not trying to really destroy the organization.
Exactly.
But then his actions are seen like that.
Like he is expected to do everything and everything perfectly, and he's scrutinized at every step and every decision.
Yeah, correct. And then he also falls prey to the politics in the organization, and then media is actually trying to attack him. Shareholders are trying to put a lens on their activities. So he's actually under tremendous pressure.
So given a chance, what would you like to change in this corporate world?
Yeah, so see, the corporate world is like our society, right? So just like our society is mixed of various things, there are good things, bad things. Same set of people actually join the corporate world also. So corporate world is also like your mini community, right? So there are good things, bad things. So I think one thing that probably can happen and will happen eventually is to have smaller setup. So the large corporates are like monolithic, centralized organization, okay, driven from one central thing, one central nervous system, right? So while if you see that the trend is that even the larger organizations are having small independent entities that are working of their own, right? They're taking their own decisions. They're more agile, more organic, and they're more responsive. If you are a large organization, monolithic organization, you will not be able to change yourself. But if you're a congregation of small organization, you can do it faster.
Yes. Well, smaller things can easily change, but a large thing needs to change. Like, it takes time.
Correct. And these smaller organizations can be threaded together at the central level through some policy or something. But then the smaller your units are, the more flexible and more easy to adapt they will be.
Well said. So in the book, you discuss about 4 phases of a corporate career. Which one, according to you, is the best phase out there?
So obviously reaching the top is the best, right? So the 4 phases that I speak about is the first 5 years when you're just, individual contributor, right? So here you work hard, you're just like a horse, right? So the more power you spend, the better you are perceived, right? So it is all your individual play. The second phase is where your actually a team play comes into picture. At this stage, how good you are individually does not matter, but what matters is how you're able to manage your team, your clients, so your interpersonal skills, your soft skills, and those things start playing out. That's why a lot of people who are very good technically actually may not do that well in the second phase, because the softer aspect comes in. The third phase is where actually I call it principal or portfolio manager kind of thing, where you have a large portfolio of projects or things. So here you have to do kind of balancing work. You cannot do well in all the projects, right? Because there's so many things, everything is not under your control. So all that you have to do is manage those things, and in this phase you have to manage your manager. So your manager should have right impression of you. And the fourth phase is eventually when you become the head of the organization or CEO or something. And this phase actually, you do not care about your customer. You care, but eventually you care for your shareholders, right? And your actual KPIs come from how much dividends you are giving to the shareholders. So that's why sometimes CEOs, they become completely, they do not care much about employees or customers or things like that, so long as they're able to give good share price or dividends or something. So the KPIs keep changing. The KPIs keep changing, and stage of the people, and obviously not everybody reaches all the stage. In fact, and it's a sharp pyramid, so definitely people get filtered at each level. Right? So only those people who are able to navigate through all these phases, they reach the top.
Very well said. So you're continuing your series of Who Stole Mine. So is the second one a companion novel or a continuation in the series?
So it's actually the name is similar. Next, the book is already released. The book is called Who Stole My Time. And the name is in the same form, but it's a fiction, but it's on a separate topic. It's about the social media. The topic of the book is reclaiming your life from the social media addiction. So it's again a fiction. So there are people who, again, there are some elements of startup there, and they set up a company called Paybook that pays the user for browsing. And then, so that's how the story builds on. Then they start getting into problems. Then there's a data privacy issue. So there are a lot of technical things there also. It's threaded in the form of a story. There is no continuation as such, but you will find some common thread.
So companion.
Yeah, you can say that, yes.
Okay. Wow. So can you tell us more about that book?
Yeah, so that book is about it's a book about how social media and when I say social media, it's everything, not only social media but also internet in general or smartphone in general, right? How they are taking control of your life, right? And though we believe that we control them, but eventually they control us. They start actually they start controlling our time, and there are psychological reasons behind that, right? So just like in any addiction, you think that, or when you start you think you're in control of the addictions, right? Let's say even something like alcoholism or something like that, right? But then after some time it becomes beyond you, then actually you become dependent on that. So that's how social media also works. The way it controls your brain, the way it, and there is a lot of psychology involved in that. So the way it controls your reward system in the brain and all that. So slowly you start becoming, you know, more dependent on them, and then at some point in time you just can't leave it. And then there are a lot of element explained in the book, something like fear of missing out, what psychologists call FOMO, right? Then there is something called doom scrolling, right? You keep scrolling till the end, doom scrolling, sorry.
Okay.
So like that, there are a lot of concept explained there. Eventually that book is not about shunning the social media. It doesn't say that don't use social media. It just says that you should set the right balance, and you should be aware that there could be instances that if you do not control, then actually you can get completely sucked in.
Very interesting. I can't wait to read this book. So my next question to you is, who has been your inspiration all this while?
Yeah, so I believe everybody's life is unique. Everybody's journey is unique. So to that extent, I do not have any role model, at least one role model. So depending on each area, right? So if you look for in business, there are certain people that I look up to. If I look for writing, there are certain people I look up to, right? Again, everything, like there's a politics or something. So there are different role models, I'll say. I won't say there is one single role model, and but definitely there are inspirations from everyone around us.
If you have to name maybe two from different spectrums, like spectrums, like from writing one and then in life in general one.
Yeah, so writing is a very huge area. So there have been a lot of celebrated authors, and I've been reading so many of them. So I guess there are so many that if I take any name, I'll say that maybe kind of work that I am doing, somebody like Ravi Subramaniam, I'll say I can relate to him more. He's similar, like he's working in a corporate setup. He's writing for maybe fun or something like that. So I'm also similar on a similar track. Right, so I'll say like that. In business, there are different people who have made India proud. So there are people like Ratan Tata, even Narayan Murthy, and all these people. So,
Yes.
like that.
Okay, acceptable. So, what do you find most challenging about writing?
Yeah, so most challenging about writing is to start writing, according to me, right?
Okay.
So most of the people I talk to, and I myself go through it. So people think that they will write when they have some grand idea, they have some mega plot or something like that, and then they will start writing. And the tragedy is that people never get any grand idea. There is nothing called grand idea. So there's small ideas, and you keep building on them. That becomes a plot at some point in time. That becomes a big idea. So like when I started writing the story, I wouldn't know like how to progress, right? So, and if you ever wait that, okay, I'll have very good story, then only I'll write, then probably you will never be able to start. Okay. So according to me, the most important or difficult thing is to just start writing. So if you can have 1 hour every day, fixed for writing. Okay, even if you write something crappy, doesn't matter. Next day you can actually tear it away. But the very fact that you keep focused for at least an hour a day, okay, and if you continue like that for some time, you will always have good work.
Okay, so you are more of an instinctive writer, or first you structure out the story and then you start writing?
So actually, the way fiction and non-fiction work is different. Okay, in case of non-fiction, you can do this. So in case of non-fiction, you can have structure, you can have topic, subtopic, you can also decide number of pages. Like when I wrote my Transit Lounge, I know I have to write about 30 countries. So I said each country maybe 3 pages. And like that, you can have entire structure. But when you're writing a story, then you will not have that structure actually, because there are no chapters, there are no sub chapters and all that. And story actually is more like a river kind of thing, right? So when you start, you do not know how to progress, then
You go with the flow.
keep keep changing the course, and sometimes you're not happy with it. So it's like iterative process. You go back and forth and all that. So in that case, you will not be able to set up any structure, according to me.
Okay, acceptable. So do you feel that it has become easier after writing 3 books?
I'll say it has become easier more as a matter of habit. So if I can, and I'm able to devote, let's say, 1 hour every day, it has become easier for me to sit for 1 hour and then think of something and write. Earlier, probably it was not so. Okay, so it's more like, I believe that writing should be more like a ritual. And so if you're able to fit that into the ritual form, okay, you will always keep writing.
Okay, amazing. That's like a very good suggestion for our upcoming and aspiring writers. So tell me, Sunil, what habits you have inculcated during this pandemic situation, like to improve yourself while staying at home?
So I have started reading a lot of books. So I used to read earlier also. In fact, my book reading I have picked up in last 3-4 years. So last year I read 24 books. This year I have pledged to read 50 books. Okay.
All the best.
So in Goodreads I have set I have set a challenge in Goodreads for 50 books. I have completed 25 books now. Okay, so hopefully I'll complete another 25 books. Okay, so I have set a target of reading 1 book every week. Okay. Then of course I have decided at least 1 hour every day I'll try to write, and that writing could be either a blog, it could be a Medium post or LinkedIn post or even a book. Okay. I do a lot of online courses, so I try to read things on or learn new things. So I do a lot of things on psychology or brain science or all those startups and all those things. So so these have been the new things. I have created one course on artificial intelligence, though it was not strictly in this. It was not strictly in this lockdown. I had created it's a free course on Udemy. Okay, it's a 2-hour course, and actually it has it's one of the most popular course on Udemy. It's a free course. It has got some 15,000 students enrolled into it.
Wow.
From some 140 countries. So it's an open platform. Udemy is open, just like Coursera, it's an open online learning platform.
So can you give our audience some book recommendations, like maybe top 5 favorite books you have?
So it keeps changing. So, but I'll tell you what is there in my mind at this point in time.
Okay.
So one of the book that I liked a lot is Siddharth by Hermann Hesse. Okay, it's a fiction. Mm-hmm. It's one of the old classic fiction. Other book that I see just behind 1984. I like that book a lot.
That's one of
I
my
also
favorite too.
it's very nice, and actually it's always relevant, right? So I read the previous book also of this Animal Farm.
Almond Farm.
Yeah, Animal Farm, but this book is at a different level. I mean, it has taken the Animal Farm comparison to a different pedestal. So I have liked that. Then recently I read. Actually, I have read all the books of Yuval Harari. Okay.
Wow.
I liked Sapiens. Sapiens, I have liked. I mean, if you have some interest in evolution and all that stuff, it's a light
I
book.
have that book for like more than a year now on my TBR. I need to get to that.
Yeah, in fact, I finished that book, and then I also finished his other two books, Homo Deus,
Wow.
and
Yeah,
there is
and
another book called
21 lessons.
Yeah, 21 Habits for 21st Century, something like that.
Yeah.
So that also I completed. So he is a different kind of writer, so you can read. Then if you like, I mean, I like some of the non-fictions. So in non-fiction, I have read Nassim Taleb's book, Anti-Fragile. So it's a slightly, it's not a fiction, of course. It's slightly theory, concept, and those kind of things. So I like that. Then I read a book called Thinking Slow and Fast. It's a very, very nice book by Nobel laureate called Daniel Kahneman. Okay, so this,
Yes.
this is a very, very, very interesting book about the way our mind works, the way we think, and those kind of things, right? And then I'm currently reading a book. I mean, one more book, if you ask me, then there is a book called The Deep Work by Deep Work and Digital, Cal Newport, by the author Cal Newport. Okay. So all these are professors. Okay, he's actually a computer scientist. So currently, I am reading a book called Attention Merchant. Okay. It's a book. So this book is similar to the current book that I have written. So this book is about how advertising works, how your attention actually is on sale in the social media. So how these people capture your attention and then they sell it to the advertisers, and it goes from the history. So it starts from how it started in newspaper, then television, then computers, and now social media.
Evolution of marketing and
marketing of attention. So it's all about attention. The name is human attention.
Okay. Wow. I hope our viewers are adding this book to their to be read list. So, what are your plans for your next book?
Yeah, so I'm writing a couple of. I'm not sure whether it will become a book, but I'm writing one on like how our mind works. Again, it's kind of psychology, and it's not a story. It's more like it's a non-fiction. Yeah, it's a non-fiction kind of thing. So, but I think that the way our mind works, there's a lot of unique things, and it's very interesting to study ourselves, right? So that book is all about that, how our memory works, how do we get superstition, those kind of things. So that's one. Another book that I'm writing is more on what makes you Indian. So this book is again based on my travel to different countries, right? So from that time only, I tried to pick up what are the things that actually makes you Indian, right? India is a very diverse country, and so I'm trying to pick up some traits that uniquely define you as Indian, and then I'm trying to figure out, again, it's going to be a non-fiction, so the origin of that. So something like eating by hand, right? So it comes very naturally to Indian, but if you tell the same thing to an American to use his or her hand to eat, you will find, and I have seen them, that they are struggling, like they'll use their fingers like fork, and the food will fall through and all that stuff. So these are small things, but interesting.
Very catchy titles you have got there. So, are you planning to continue the Who Stole My series anymore?
So I do not know. See, actually, the name of the book changes many times before actually you publish. So all my books, it has been like that. So right now I am writing. If something catches along, I'll see. Otherwise, it also depends on the publisher, the market, marketability, and all those things.
Yes, very well. So can you tell our viewers on which platforms are your books available?
Yeah, so book is available on all the platforms. Amazon, it's available on Flipkart, and of course there are links in other platforms also, like Scribd is there. I'm not sure which all platform. Amazon is there. It's available on all in different countries. Amazon India, US, UK, France, all these places.
Okay. All the very best, Sunil, for your books and upcoming ventures. I hope you go with the flow with your novels very well. So thank you so much for giving us your precious time.
Thank you, Ayushi. It was really nice talking to you, and I wish you good luck.
Thank you so much. And the pleasure was all mine of having you on this session today.
Thank you.
So it's a wrap for today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed having this discussion with Sunil. Stay home, stay safe, and keep reading. Bye-bye.